Guys,
So you got something else is going to be.
guess what? We're Facebook Live.
We live? We're
We're-
live, Paul. Hey
Okay.
guys, Delmedico SBG. We're here live with Paul Olsen, president of Company Broker Group. He sells a lot of roofing companies, guys. A lot of blue collar companies.
Yeah.
How many blue collar companies you sold in the last
31 years,
31 years you've been in business?
380 businesses. 380 businesses, probably 200 construction-related companies, 85 roofing companies.
85 roofing
Just
companies.
roofing.
85 roofing companies, which is really interesting because he's also my neighbor here in Scottsdale. We kind of bumped into each other a couple years back with our daughters in the same dance class and all that. Now, Paul, some of you guys already know Paul. He's spoken at our conference before. He's a vendor. He heads up a breakout session for $10 million plus companies.
I'm an affiliate.
He's an SVG affiliate. He's actually a super affiliate. Now we're doing your paid ad campaigns. And Paul came by today at the SVG office. We're just talking about, I did a post yesterday just to see, organically of guys interested in possibly selling their company. Because a lot of these guys don't respond to like paid ads and advertisements, or some guys don't even know that they want to sell their company. So I start thinking about it. Or where they want to be married to from now. I remember I did a little post last night just for fun, and I got 9, $10 million, well, a couple were at 5, 8 million, but 6 or 7 were at 10 million plus that messaged me back that are interested in talking to somebody.
I talked to him today.
And I know you got a network of buyers.
Yeah.
That are actively looking in this segment of roofing, storm restoration, which makes roofing sexy. And I know you got the buyers for it, so we're gonna bring Paul in.
Not sexy, but it makes a lot of money. They make a lot of money.
Well, storms is sexy.
Yep.
It's sexier than it was just roofing by itself is cool.
Right.
But add a bunch of storms to it, it gets sexy. It gets a lot more revenue.
It's exciting.
A lot more explosive revenue, a lot more problems, a lot more coordination.
Right.
And it's short-lived, but it's a nice little
Right.
bump. It's a nice little bump. And
Make hay when the sun shines.
if you're in a heavy storm state, sometimes you get them every year, or every
Right.
year, which is good. So that's all some of these guys do. But let's talk real quick. We've done some lives before. What, for guys watching this right now that own a roofing restoration company, they might own a public adjusting, maybe they own a litigation firm. But I know you're primarily in the blue collar segment. But
Disaster restoration, mold remediation, fire and water damage.
emergency, water mitigation, whatever. What are you looking for? I mean, I know you like to 10 million plus. What kind of company profile do you look for personally? 3 years of audited revenues. What is it?
No, not at all, audited at all. Business should be at least 3 years old, 3 to 4 years old minimum. Love a business that does about 8 million to 10 million a year in sales last year or two. Got the wind in its back, good work in progress, good contracted work sitting out there, well bid. Love a business where the financial, got QuickBooks, you don't need audited, you don't even need reviewed financials.
Oh, you don't need audited financials?
No, not at all, no. And so just a person who's interested in selling and has, the most important thing is that they're not the business. That he's not, the owner is not the main tent pole holding up the business, that he's got good 4, 5, 6 key employees, that we call
Key managers.
Yep, hit by the bus syndrome. If he gets hit by the bus, the whole business doesn't nose over and go off a cliff. That he's got systems in place that, the business makes much more transferable, much more valuable. Because if the whole business is between his ears or her ears, that's not good. That's not good. They shouldn't be the face of the business any longer.
Because he's gonna be gone.
Right.
And one of the things we were talking about this earlier, but what happens if, they sell the company and their top 2 salespeople leave, 1 key manager's gone, besides accounts receivable and maybe recurring revenue from certain types of clients, what else are they buying?
There's nothing there.
Nothing there.
A business is as good as the employees. You're as good as your people, And I will say I've done a lot of transactions, and almost always there's no attrition, no loss of employees. The buyer comes in, tries to do a good job of ingratiating himself with the entire staff, the W-2s and the 1099s, all the subs, which are really all part of the family. But there usually isn't any loss of employees or anything like that.
What, now you're primarily 10 million plus, 3 years in business. What type of guys are like, well, how do I value my company? I mean, without getting into the whole detailed EBITDA, but you're talking about net income, 4 to 6 times EBITDA net income?
Yeah. Cash flow, the net income, the salaries, the benefits, the perks, the fancy cars, the trips to Maui, all that stuff, the steak dinners, the Costco bills you run through the business, you push it all to the bottom line like a bicycle pump, and you find that bottom line is a whole lot bigger than the net income that you pay taxes on. And that's what you take.
Because you take the ODE, the order discretionary expenses
Right,
out.
all that stuff.
Now, Paul, I'll show you a quick clip that might explain this better, but Paul actually has a course inside SVG University. It's in the owner level course, so if you're a salesperson or manager, you've probably never seen some of these courses because we categorize them by, what type of level of management or owners are actually inside the university, so salespeople want to see this, but how to scale your company and sell it, and this is a step-by-step course how to prepare, how to start looking at your financials. This is a clip you and I did about, 3 years ago, I think.
Yep.
She used as a percentage of EBITDA and how you sold this company, which basically is one of your
Yeah, this business grossed 6.9, we'll call it $7 million. You know, the net income for this guy is $583,000. Okay, or the net profit is $550,000. But by the time you add back the owner's salary, which is $320,000, other family wages, he pays his wife, though she doesn't show up. He pays her brother, although he doesn't show up. These are not producers whatsoever.
we call them
$140,000.
sales tax guys.
Yep.
We got Wi-Fi. So basically what you're talking about is you're putting the ODE, you're taking out the ODE, and the net income comes up. Because if you took if you took my company, for example, by the way, some people know this, some people don't, but we've been approached, WTS SVG's been approached over the last year about 4 or 5 different companies, a supplier, a manufacturer, and then recently a publicly traded solar company, another solar company that's kind of sniffing out what we're doing in the solar world. And I'm, as you know, because you're my broker, I've entertained conversations, not to sell outright, because I don't think it's possible to run this without my team here, but possibly doing a 50-50 or 49-51,
50% sale.
Yeah, and those are interesting conversations. Now, you've been going through my books, because I haven't done this, because I've never thought about selling a gun merchant until recently, and my ODE is very large.
Yeah.
I mean, when you take out the
All of the stuff you
Maybach
run
and the Sprinter, the Sprinter was obviously a business expense, and all the filming that went into like SVG University.
A one-time
it's a
expense,
sunk cost.
upfront cost.
Yeah.
Millions of dollars to put all this together is a one-time expense that you can add back to the bottom line. 'Cause it's
So
not
you-
ongoing and reoccurring.
And Paul showed me, guys, that my net income is actually probably, in a world of selling your company, not doing taxes, is about 3 times higher than I thought it was.
Right.
Once you take all that stuff out. So, very important in that analysis. A lot of you guys looking at your QuickBooks, your net income. I know a lot of you guys are just, we all do the same things. We put our rent, our different things. We maximize our tax deductions so net income looks smaller, and you have to scrub it. And it's a normal process. And pull that ODE out. When you do, sometimes you're surprised at what the value of the company really is, especially when you have a lot of run a lot of quasi-graded personal expenses for the company, which a lot of guys do, especially starting out in the beginning.
And the purpose of this is to get the highest number that you can multiply times 4 to 5 times, which is a multiple that you can sell it for, 4 to 5 times the cash flow. But the most important thing, the way to get a real premium for the business, even above that, is to be able to show that the seller has not been pushing the business as hard as he could. The last 2-3 years, the seller's had his feet on the desk, hasn't really hired any salespeople, really hasn't had his mojo, and really he's letting the business coast. The business could have been so much more had the seller really had a shoulder behind it, but often there's burnout, and sellers just kind of disengaged. And so if you can show that to a buyer and get them excited about not what the business has been, but what it could have been the last 2-3 years, with a real push behind it, you can get a much bigger premium for the business by making that point. And that's something we always seem to bring out.
So another thing, recently you sold, what are your 2 companies this year? You sold recently the pipeline business?
I sold JBS Pipeline, a large utility company. They do underground boring and big water mains, these 3-4 foot diameter water mains for large construction, new construction areas. 500 homes, just customs, but not just specs right down the line.
And then what? You had one in Colorado Springs, a roofing company, right?
Yep, Colorado Springs did Peakview Roofing.
Peakview Roofing.
Got them $17 million for that.
$17 million
sales price.
And what percent?
And the seller kept 20% of the business.
Was that 6 times, 4 times EBITDA?
That was 5 times to 6 times cash flow. Yep, EBITDA.
EBITDA.
Yep.
Okay. And on a 3-year run rate?
4-year.
4-year.
Yep.
So we need to take
On
4
average.
year, take the average, the moving average,
Yep.
and go 4 to 6 times. Is that
Right. We like to cherry pick the best year, and the buyer likes to use a long 5-year average. So everybody's trying to cherry pick the years that work best for them,
Right.
just like pulling comps for a house. Buyers always try to pull low comps, but sellers always try to pull big comps. So you really gotta, keep the buyers in check. But I was able to take 2 of the biggest years and get a multiple of 4.5 times that.
Well, it'd certainly help if they're moving up the whole time.
Yep.
Just to sell that higher year.
Yep.
Versus some companies might be doing this, which you can probably take a moving average.
And a lot of people think they have to wait until they close out. I want to wait till I close out 2021 because I got a great year coming up, Paul. Last year was good, but this year is great. You don't need to do that. You can sell it based on the future because you already know the whip. You already know the contracts you have. So it's not as though you're a retail candy store where you don't know what you're going to make tomorrow or the next day. Construction, and all construction, certainly roofing, you know for the next 6, 12 months what your revenue and what your cash flow is going to be because it's all bid out. It's all contracted work. So that's
Now, good, for guys watching this right now, Paul, I know you have a breakout session at WTS Dallas.
Yep.
For $10 million plus companies that want to learn how to create an exit strategy. Some guys watch this right now and be, man, that sounds good. I'm busy. I don't even know what my P&L is. I've been too busy to look at it this last year. There's a lot of guys like that. You know that.
They're just working.
They're working.
They don't
I'd like to sit on an island someday. Maybe it's a 50-50 deal. Maybe it's 100%. Maybe it's something I do 2 or 3 years ago. But they're starting to think about what does an exit strategy look like for me? And every entrepreneur should be thinking like that because a lot of times we don't. And we work ourselves into the grindstone forever. I've done it many times. And then you have nothing left, or you didn't prepare it for sell. What do you say to them if they're thinking maybe a year from now? What can they do in the meantime? Can they contact you? Can they help us start looking at their books? Get it ready?
It is very self-serving for me to help to hook up with a business owner and to work with them and coach them for 1 or 2 years to prepare the business for sale, to maximize the books, to do all those last-minute maneuvers to maximize the value. And the reason it's self-serving is the higher the sales price, the more I make. I make a dime for every dollar you make, and so I want as many dimes as I can get. So it behooves me to really improve the value and give good suggestions. Terrible thing though, if I've learned anything, is people always sell because of an abrupt event. Just learned the wife got cancer, very advancing. Guy's back went out. Lost 3 key employees. Had a big accident, or a big mod rate just went through the roof or something like that. And so a guy calls me on an abrupt basis saying, get me out tomorrow. That's not the way you want to sell your business. You want to sell it on your terms when you have no personal reasons as to why you need to sell tomorrow, and you got no business reasons as to why you want to sell tomorrow. You want to sell when everything's good. If I sell, great. If I don't, that's fine too. That's when you're negotiating from a position of strength. So you want to sell when you got no problems at home, you got no motivations, you got the wind in your back, and everything's great. Because if they know you have to sell for a reason, personal or business, they will smell blood in the water and they will take advantage of that. It's an old saying, buyers are much better at buying than sellers are at selling. These guys have been doing it for years and years and years, and this is probably your first rodeo. So to you, it's all great to me. I've never sold a business before, a guy would say. I don't know how this works, so it's really important that you prepare your business for sale, and you're thinking about, you got this cliff coming up, you're preparing for when you jump off that cliff, everything's all very well set up. You got systems in place. And by the way, back to this SVG, all Anthony does is make sure that the business, one of the biggest pieces of SVGU is that the business is no longer in the guy's head. I mean, when you're making $1 million a year, $3, $4 million, no big deal. When you go about 10, 15, $20 million a year company, you better have systems in place. All of it online, all of it something that people can access their relative modules for. This manager needs this, and the salespeople need this.
The biggest fear of a buyer of any business is, you buy a roofing company, for example. Okay, you get the warehouse. Maybe they own the building. Maybe you get some trucks. You got some people. You got some AR, and you get a business model.
Right.
What if the general manager and the sales manager and the top sales leaders all left and went and started their own business the day they sold the company?
You left the buyer.
They left the new buyer. So one thing that, in the last couple sales that Paul did, we actually custom branded our university up for a client before he sat down with the buyer, and we actually custom brand these things to any company they would want. It showed that they actually have a platform, a turnkey platform to train everyone from the office manager to the sales processor to the salesperson to the canvasser to the general manager to the AR, AP.
So that you're not, big word, you're not vulnerable. Okay, you don't want the keys to this business to be in somebody's head, and if something happens to them, they call it hit by the bus syndrome. A guy gets hit by the bus, the whole thing noses over. So you want to transfer, you don't want to be vulnerable. Everybody, all this is here so people can pick and choose and get at it, whether the business sells, the business stays.
And that buyer was tweaked by it. He liked the fact that he had a platform that could retrain into one of those positions at a click of a button.
Worth millions of dollars.
So that was a nice way to add a little frosting to the cake, so to say. If you guys want to, if you want to guys, what's the way that these guys get in touch with you?
3 ways. Text me, cell phone 303.
Oh, he's giving out the cell.
303-522-2034. You can email me, Paul at Company Broker, just like it sounds, Paul at Company Broker spelled out.com. Or call me at that number. They call me One Ring Paulie. I pick up on one ring. Yep.
You guys, he'll be at the WTS Dallas doing a breakout session. Now, if you're serious, don't just blow his phone up. If you're in that 10 million plus or approaching 10 million plus,
Yep.
7 or 8 million run rate, 3 years, that's fine. And you're serious about possibly selling your company a year or two from now,
Yep.
it'd be good to link up with him now, give him a call and see what process you need to start doing
Start a relationship.
to get those books in line. So when you're ready, and sometimes you want to do it before you think you're ready for the reasons you mentioned before, so that you have that stuff in place. And some of you guys need to start thinking about that exit strategy. I know I'm starting to entertain some M&A offers from different people for WTS SVG, and you're helping out with that. And it's been an eye opener for me to actually go through my own books and go, okay, you got to pull these things out, and your net income's actually higher, which is great. You got a higher sales price. I think a lot of these guys would enjoy going through some of that, and looking at what their net income would really be if they weren't there as the initial founder entrepreneur running the business, and it was ran like under a different set of rules and procedures. That's an interesting experience to go through in either case. So, guys, look for Paul. He's got a course inside SVG University on the owner level. He's an affiliate. He's going to be at WTS Dallas, and he gave you out his cell phone earlier. You can always call the office here. We'll connect you. And he's local right here. He's my neighbor. One of the best guys I know in the company broker business.
Yep.
Sells a lot of roofing companies.
I will sell your business for the highest price.
And he'll sell for the highest price.
Yep.
See you soon. Booyah, baby.
Thank you.